Dedications for the poetical works of Robert Southey. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Lyric Poems by Robert Southey. Dedication to Edith Southey. With wayworn feet, a traveller woe-begone, life's upward road I journeyed many a day, and framing many a sad yet soothing lay, beguiled the solitary hours with song. Lonely my heart and rugged was the way, yet often plucked I, as I passed along, the wild and simple flowers of poesy, and sometimes, unreflecting as a child, entwined the weeds which pleased a random eye. Take thou the wreath, beloved. It is wild and rudely garlanded, yet scorn not thou the humble offering, where dark rosemary weaves amid gay flowers its melancholy leaves, and myrtle gathered to adorn thy brow. Bristol, 1796. Dedication to Mary Wollstonecraft. The lily cheek, the purple light of love, the liquid lustre of the melting eye, Mary, of these the poet sung, for these did woman triumph. Turn not thou away, contemptuous, from the theme. No maid of Arc had in those ages for her country's cause wielded the sword of freedom. No Roland had borne the palm of female fortitude. No Corday with self-sacrificing zeal had glorified again the avenger's name, as erst when Caesar perished. Haply, too, some strains may hence be drawn, befitting me to offer, nor unworthy thy regard. Robert Southey. Bristol, 1795. End of dedications. To Horror by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Allan Mapstone. Dark horror, hear my call. Stern genius, hear from thy retreat on some old sepulchre's moss-cankered seat, beneath the abbey's ivied wall that trembles o'er its shade, where, wrapped in midnight gloom alone, thou lovest to lie and hear the roar of waters near, and listen to the deep dull groan of some perturbed sprite, borne fitful on the heavy gales of night. Or whether o'er some wide waste hill thou seest the traveller stray, bewildered on his lonely way, when loud and keen and chill the evening winds of winter blow, drifting deep the dismal snow. Or if thou followest now on Greenland's shore, with all thy terrors on the lonely way of some wrecked mariner, where to the roar of herded bears the floating ice hills round return their echoing sound, and by the dim drear boreal light givest half his dangers to the wretch's sight. Or if thy fury form, when o'er the midnight deep the dark-winged tempests sweep, beholds from some high cliff the increasing storm, watching with strange delight as the black billows to the thunder rave, when by the lightning's light thou seest the tall ship sink beneath the wave. Bear me in spirit where the field of fight scatters contagion on the tainted gale, when to the moon's faint beam on many a carcass shine the dews of night, and a dead silence stills the vale, save when at times is heard the glutted ravens scream. Where some wrecked army from the conqueror's might speed their disastrous flight, with thee, fierce genius, let me trace their way, and hear at times the deep heart groan of some poor sufferer left to die alone. And we will pause where on the wild the mother to her breast, on the heaped snows reclining, clasps her child, not to be pitied now, for both are now at rest. Black horror! Speed we to the bed of death, where one who wide and far hath sent abroad the myriad plagues of war, struggles with his last breath. Then to his wildly starting eyes the spectres of the slaughtered rise. Then on his frenzied ear their calls for vengeance and the demon's yell in one heart-maddening chorus swell. Cold on his brow convulsing stands the dew, and night eternal darkens on his view. Horror! I call thee yet once more. Bear me to that accursed shore, where on the stake the negro writhes. Assume thy sacred terrors then, dispense the gales of pestilence, arouse the oppressed, teach them to know their power, lead them to vengeance, and in that dread hour, when ruin rages wide, I will behold and smile by mercy's side. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To Contemplation by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Allan Mapstone. Faint gleams the evening radiance through the sky, the sober twilight dimly darkens round, in short quick circles the shrill bat flits by, and the slow vapour curls along the ground. Now the pleased eye from yon lone cottage sees, on the green mead the smoke-long shadowing play. The redbreast on the blossom's spray warbles wild her latest lay, and lo! the rooks to yon high-tufted trees wing in long files vociferous their way. Calm contemplation, 'tis thy favourite hour. Come, tranquilizing power. I view thee on the calmy shore, when ocean stills his waves to rest, or when slow-moving on the surge's hoar meet with deep hollow roar, and whiten o'er his breast. And when the moon with softer radiance gleams, and lovelier heave the billows in her beams. When the low gales of evening moan along, I love with thee to feel the calm cool breeze, and roam the pathless forest wilds among, listening the mellow murmur of the trees, full foliaged, as they wave their heads on high, and to the winds respond in symphony. Or lead me where amid the tranquil vale the broken streamlet flows in silver light, and I will linger where the gale o'er the bank of violets sighs, listening to hear its softened sounds arise, and hearken the dull beetle's drowsy flight, and watch the tube-eyed snail creep o'er his long moon glittering trail, and mark where radiant through the night shines in the grass-green hedge the glowworm's living light. Thee, meekest power, I love to meet, as oft with solitary pace the ruined abbey's hallowed rounds I trace, and listen to the echoing of my feet, or on some half-demolished tomb, whose warning texts anticipate my doom, mark the clear orb of night cast through the ivied arch a broken light. Nor will I not in some more gloomy hour invoke with fearless awe thine holier power, wandering beneath the sacred pile, when the blast moans along the darksome aisle, and clattering patters all around the midnight shower with dreary sound. But sweeter 'tis to wander wild, by melancholy dreams beguiled, while the summer moon's pale ray faintly guides me on my way to some lone romantic glen, far from all the haunts of men, where no noise of uproar rude breaks the calm of solitude, but soothing silence sleeps in all, save the neighbouring waterfall, whose hoarse waters falling near load with hollow sounds the ear, and with down-dashed torrent white gleam hoary through the shades of night. Thus wandering silent on and slow, I'll nurse reflection's sacred woe, and muse upon the happier day, when hope would weave her visions gay, ere fancy, chilled by adverse fate, left sad reality my mate. O Contemplation! When to memory's eyes the visions of the long past days arise, thy holy power imparts the best relief, and the calm spirit loves the joy of grief. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Friend by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. O my faithful friend, O early chosen, ever found the same, and trusted and beloved, once more the verse, long destined, always obvious to thine ear, attend indulgent. Akenside. And wouldst thou seek the low abode where peace delights to dwell? Pause, traveller, on thy way of life. With many a snare and peril rife is that long labyrinth of road. Dark is the veil of years before. Pause, traveller, on thy way, nor dare the dangerous path explore, till old experience comes to lend his leading ray. Not he who comes with lanthorn light shall guide thy groping pace aright, with faltering feet and slow. No, let him rear the torch on high, and every maze shall meet thine eye, and every snare and every foe. Then with steady step and strong, traveller, shalt thou march along. Though Power invite thee to her hall, regard not thou her tempting call, her splendor's meteor glare. Though courteous Flattery there await, and wealth adorn the dome of state, there stalks the midnight spectre, Care. Peace, traveller, doth not sojourn there. If fame allure thee, climb not thou to that steep mountain's craggy brow, where stands her stately pile. For far from thence doth peace abide, and thou shalt find fame's favouring smile cold as the feeble sun on Hecla's snow-clad side. And traveller, as thou hopest to find that low and loved abode, retire thee from the thronging road, and shun the mob of humankind. Ah, hear how old experience schools! Fly, fly the crowd of knaves and fools, and thou shalt fly from woe. The one thy heedless heart will greet with Judas' smile, and thou wilt meet in every fool a foe. So safely mayst thou pass from these, and reach secure the home of peace, and friendship find thee there. No happier state can mortal know, no happier lot can earth bestow, if love thy lot shall share. Yet still content with him may dwell whom Hymen will not bless, and virtue sojourn in the cell of hermit happiness. Bristol, 1793. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Remembrance by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The remembrance of youth is a sigh. Ali. Man hath a weary pilgrimage as through the world he wends. On every stage from youth to age still discontent attends. With heaviness he casts his eye upon the road before, and still remembers with a sigh the days that are no more. To school the little exile goes, torn from his mother's arms. What then shall soothe his earliest woes, when novelty hath lost its charms? Condemned to suffer through the day restraints which no rewards repay, and cares where love has no concern, hope lengthens as she counts the hours before his wished return. From hard control and tyrant rules, the unfeeling discipline of schools, in thought he loves to roam, and tears will struggle in his eye, while he remembers with a sigh the comforts of his home. Youth comes, the toils and cares of life torment the restless mind. Where shall the tired and harassed heart its consolation find? Then is not youth, as fancy tells, life's summer prime of joy. Ah, no! For hopes too long delayed, and feelings blasted or betrayed, its fabled bliss destroy. And youth remembers with a sigh the careless days of infancy. Maturer manhood now arrives, and other thoughts come on. But with the baseless hopes of youth, its generous warmth is gone. Cold calculating cares succeed the timid thought, the wary deed, the dull realities of truth. Back on the past he turns his eye, remembering with an envious sigh the happy dreams of youth. So reaches he the latter stage of this our mortal pilgrimage, with feeble step and slow. New ills that latter stage await, and old experience learns too late that all is vanity below. Life's vain delusions are gone by, its idle hopes are o'er. Yet age remembers with a sigh the days that are no more.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Soldier's Wife by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Anthony Will. Dactylics. Weary way wanderer, languid and sick at heart, traveling painfully over the rugged road. Wild-visaged wanderer, God help thee, wretched one. Sorely thy little one drags by thee barefooted. Cold is the baby that hangs at thy bending back, meager and livid and screaming for misery. Woe begone, mother, half anger, half agony, as over thy shoulder thou lookest to hush the babe. Bleakly the blinding snow beats in thy hagged face. Ne'er will thy husband return from the war again. Cold is thy heart, and as frozen as charity. Cold are thy children. Now God be thy comforter. Bristol, 1795. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Widow by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox by Yaron Bernstein. Sapphics. Cold was the night wind, drifting fast the snow fell. Wide were the downs and shelterless the naked, when a poor wanderer struggled on her journey, weary and waysore. Drear were the downs, more dreary her reflections. Cold was the night wind, colder was her bosom. She had no home. The world was all before her. She had no shelter. Fast o'er the heath a chariot rattled by her. Pity me, feebly cried the lonely wanderer. Pity me, strangers, lest with cold and hunger here I should perish. Once I had friends, though now by all forsaken. Once I had parents, they are now in heaven. I had a home once, I had once a husband. Pity me, strangers. I had a home once, I had once a husband. I am a widow, poor and broken-hearted. Loud blew the wind, unheard was her complaining. On drove the chariot. Then, on the snow, she laid her down to rest her. She heard a horseman. Pity me, she groaned out. Loud was the wind, unheard was her complaining. On went the horseman. Worn out with anguish, toil and cold and hunger. Down sunk the wanderer, sleep had seized her senses. There did the traveller find her in the morning. God had released her. Bristol, 1795. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Chapel Bell by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Lo, I, the man from whom the Muse did ask her deepest notes to swell the patriot's meads, am now enforced, a fair unfitter task, for cap and gown to leave my minstrel weeds. For yon dull tone that tinkles on the air bids me lay by the lyre and go to morning prayer. Oh, how I hate the sound! It is the knell that still a requiem tolls to comfort's hour, and loath am I, at superstition's bell, to quit or Morpheus's or the Muses' bower. Better to lie and doze than gape amain, hearing still mumbled o'er the same eternal strain. Thou tedious herald of more tedious prayers, say, dost thou ever summon from his rest one being wakened to religious cares, or rouse one pious transport in the breast? Or rather, do not all reluctant creep to linger out the time in listlessness or sleep? I love the bell that calls the poor to pray, chiming from village church its cheerful sound, when the sun smiles on labour's holy day, and all the rustic train are gathered round, each deftly dizened in his Sunday's best, and pleased to hail the day of piety and rest. And when, dim shadowing o'er the face of day, the mantling mists of eventide rise slow, as through the forest gloom I wend my way, the minster curfew's sullen voice I know, and pause, and love its solemn toll to hear, as made by distance soft, it dies upon the ear. Nor with an idle, nor unwilling ear, do I receive the early passing bell, For, sick at heart with many a secret care, when I lie listening to the dead man's knell, I think that in the grave all sorrows cease, and would full fain recline my head and be at peace. But thou, memorial of monastic Gaul, what fancy sad or lightsome hast thou given? Thy vision-scarring sounds alone recall the prayer that trembles on a yawn to heaven, the snuffling, snaffling fellow's nasal tone, and Romish rites retained, though Romish faith be flown. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Hymen, by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org, by Agnes Robert Behr. God of the torch, whose soul illuming flame beams brightest radiance o'er the human heart, of many a woe the cure, of many a joy the source. To thee I sing, if haply may the muse pour forth a song unblamed from these dull hearts, where never beams thy torch to cheer the sullen scene. I pour the song to thee, though haply doomed, alone and unbeloved to pass my days, though doomed perchance to die, alone and unbewailed. Yet will the lark, albeit in a cage enthralled, send out her voice to greet the morning sun, as wide his cheerful beams light up the landscape round. When high in heaven she hears the caroling, the prisoner too begins her morning hymn, and hails the beam of joy to her denied. Friend to each better feeling of the soul, I sing to thee, for many a joy is thine, and many a virtue comes to join thy happy train. Lord, by the splendor of thy sacred torch, the beacon light of bliss, young love draws near, and leads his willing slaves to wear thy flowery chain. And chastened friendship comes, whose mildest sway shall cheer the hour of age, when fainter burn the fading flame of love, the fading flame of life. Parent of every bliss, the busy hand of fancy oft will paint in brightest hues. How calm, how clear thy torch illumes the wintry hour, will paint the wearied laborer at that hour, when friendly darkness yields a pause to toil, returning blithely home to each domestic joy. Will paint the well-trimmed fire, the frugal meal, prepared with fond solicitude to please, the ruddy children round, climbing the father's knee. And oft will fancy rise above the lot of honest poverty, and think how man, nor rich nor poor, enjoys his best and happiest state, when toil, no longer irksome and constrained by hard necessity, but comes to please, to vary the still hour of tranquil happiness. My fancy wilt thou, o'er the lovely scene, pouring thy vivid hues, why sorceress bland, soothe sad reality with visionary bliss. Turn thou thine eyes to where the hallowed light of learning shines. I'll rather lead thy son along her mystic paths to drink the sacred spring. Lead calmly on along the unvaried path to solitary age's drear abode. Is it not happiness that gives the sting to death? Well then is he whose embittered years are waning on in lonely listlessness. If life hath little joy, death hath for him no sting. Oxford, 1794. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Written on the 1st of December by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox by Craig Allen Jones. Though now no more the musing ear delights to listen to the breeze that lingers o'er the greenwood shade, I love thee, winter, well. Sweet are the harmonies of spring, sweet is the summer's evening gale, and sweet the autumnal winds that shake the many-colored grove. and pleasant to the sobered soul the silence of the wintry scene, when nature shrouds herself entranced in deep tranquillity. Not undelightful now to roam the wild heath sparkling on the sight, not undelightful now to pace the forest's ample rounds, and to see the spangled branches shine, and mark the moss of many a hue that varies the old tree's brown bark or o'er the grey stone spreads, and see the clustered berries bright amid the holly's gay green leaves, the ivy round the leafless oak that clasps its foliage close. So virtue, diffident of strength, clings to religion's firmer aid, so by religion's aid upheld endures calamity. Nor void of beauties now the spring, whose waters hid from summer sun, have soothed the thirsty pilgrim's ear with more than melody. Green moss shines there with ice encased, the long grass bends its spear-like form, and lovely is the silvery scene when faint the sunbeams smile. Reflection too may love the hour, when nature, hid in winter's grave, no more expands the bursting bud or bids the floweret bloom. For nature, soon in spring's best charms, shall rise revived from winter's grave, expand the bursting bud again, and bid the flower rebloom. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Written on the 1st of January, by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org, by Agnes Robert Behr. Come, melancholy moralizer, come, gather with me the dark and wintry wreath, with me in garland now, the sepulchre of time. Come, moralizer, to the funeral song, I pour the dirge of the departed days, for well the funeral song befits this solemn hour. But hark! Even now the merry bells ring round, with clamorous joy to welcome in this day, this consecrated day, to joy and merriment. Mortal, while fortune with benignant hand fills to the brim thy cup of happiness, whilst her unclouded sun illumes thy summer day, canst thou rejoice, rejoice that time flies fast, that night shall shadow soon thy summer sun, that swift the stream of years rolls to eternity? If thou hast wealth to gratify each wish, if power be thine, remember what thou art. Remember thou art man, and death thine heritage. Hast thou known love? Doth beauty's better sun cheer thy fond heart with no capricious smile? Her eye all eloquence, all harmony her voice. O state of happiness, hark how the gale moans deep and hollow through the leafless grove. Winter is dark and cold, where now are the charms of spring? Sayest thou that fancy paints the future scene in hues too sombrous, that the dark-souled maid, with frowning front severe, appalls the shuddering soul? And wouldst thou bid me court her fairy form, when as she sports her in some happier mood, her many-coloured robes float varying in the sun? How vainly does the pilgrim, whose long road leads o'er a barren mountain storm-vexed height, with wistful eye behold some quiet vale far off. And there are those who love the pensive song, to whom all sounds of mirth are dissonant. Them in accordant mood this thoughtful strain will find, for hopeless sorrow hails the lapse of time, rejoicing when the fading orb of day is sunk again in night, that one day more is gone. And he who bears affliction's heavy load with patient piety, well pleased he knows the world a pilgrimage, the grave his inn of rest. Bath, 1794. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Written on Sunday morning by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Go thou and seek the house of prayer. I to the woodlands wend, and there in lovely nature see the God of love. The swelling organ's peal wakes not my soul to zeal, like the sweet music of the vernal grove. The gorgeous altar and the mystic vest excite not such devotion in my breast as where the noontide beam, flashed from some broken stream, vibrates on the dazzled sight, or where the cloud-suspended rain sweeps in shadows o'er the plain, or when reclining on the cliff's huge height, I mark the billows burst in silver light. Go thou and seek the house of prayer. I to the woodland shall repair, feed with all nature's charms mine eyes, and hear all nature's melodies. The primrose bank will there dispense faint fragrance to the awakened sense. The morning beams that life and joy impart will with their influence warm my heart, and the full tear that down my cheek will steal will speak the prayer of praise I feel. Go thou and seek the house of prayer. I to the woodlands bend my way, and meet religion there. She needs not haunt the high arched dome to pray, where storied windows dim the doubtful day. At liberty she loves to rove, wide o'er the healthy hill or cowslipped dale, or seek the shelter of the embowering grove, or with the streamlet wind along the vale. Sweet are these scenes to her, and when the night pours in the north her silver streams of light, she woos reflection in the silent gloom, and ponders on the world to come. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Race of Banquo by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Allan Mapstone. A fragment. Fly, son of Banquo, Fleance, fly! Leave thy guilty sire to die. O'er the heath the stripling fled, the wild storm howling round his head. Fear mightier through the shades of night urged his feet and winged his flight. And still he heard his father's cry, Fly, son of Banquo, Fleance, fly! Fly, son of Banquo, Fleance, fly! Leave thy guilty sire to die. On every blast was heard the moan, the anguished shriek, the death-fraught groan. Loathly night hags join the yell, and lo, the midnight rites of hell. Forms of magic, spare my life, shield me from the murderer's knife. Before me, dim in lurid light, float the phantoms of the night. Behind I hear my father's cry, Fly, son of Banquo, Fleance, fly! Parent of the sceptred race, boldly tread the circled space. Boldly, Fleance, venture near, sire of monarchs, spurn at fear. Sisters, with prophetic breath, pour we now the dirge of death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Written in Alentejo by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. When at morn the muleteer with early call announces day, sorrowing that early call I hear, which scares the visions of delight away. For dear to me the silent hour when sleep exerts its wizard power, and busy fancy then let free, borne on the wings of hope, my Edith flies to thee. When the slant sunbeams crest the mountain's shadowy breast, when on the upland slope shines the green myrtle wet with morning dew, and lovely as the youthful dreams of hope, the dim-seen landscape opens on the view. I gaze around with raptured eyes on nature's charms where no illusion lies, and drop the joy and memory-mingled tear, and sigh to think that Edith is not here. At the cool hour of even, when all is calm and still, and o'er the western hill a richer radiance robes the mellowed heaven, absorbed in darkness thence, when slowly fades in night the dim decaying light, like the fair day dreams of benevolence, fatigued and sad and slow, along my lonely way I go, and muse upon the distant day, and sigh, remembering Edith far away. When late arriving at our inn of rest, whose roof exposed to many a winter's sky, half shelters from the wind the shivering guest, by the lamp's melancholy gloom, I see the miserable room, and musing on the evils that arise from disproportioned inequalities, pray that my lot may be neither with riches nor with poverty, but in that happy mean which for the soul is best, and with contentment blessed, in some secluded glen, to dwell with peace and Edith far from men. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Recovery by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Recovery, where art thou? Daughter of heaven, where shall we seek thy help? Upon what hallowed fountain hast thou laid, O nymph adored, thy spell? By the grey ocean's verge, daughter of heaven, we seek thee, but in vain. We find no healing in the breeze that sweeps the thymy mountain's brow. Where are the happy hours, the sunshine where that cheered the morn of life? For health is fled, and with her fled the joys which made existence dear. I saw the distant hills smile in the radiance of the orient beam, and gazed delighted that anon our feet should visit scenes so fair. I looked abroad at noon, the shadow and the storm were on the hills, the crags which like a fairy fabric shone, darkness had overcast. On you, ye coming years, so fairly shone the April gleam of hope, so darkly o'er the distance, late so bright. Now settle the black clouds. Come thou, and chase away sorrow and pain, the persecuting powers who make the melancholy day so long the restless night. Shall we not find thee here, Recovery, on the salt sea's breezy strand? Is there no healing in the gales that sweep the thymy mountain's brow? I look for thy approach, O life-preserving power, as one who strays alone in darkness o'er the pathless marsh watches the dawn of day.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Youth and Age by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. With cheerful step the traveller pursues his early way, when first the dimly dawning east reveals the rising day. He bounds along his craggy road, he hastens up the height, and all he sees and all he hears administer delight. And if the mist, retiring slow, roll round its wavy white, he thinks the morning vapors hide some beauty from his sight. But when behind the western clouds departs the fading day, how wearily the traveller pursues his evening way. Sorely along the craggy road his painful footsteps creep, and slow, with many a feeble pause, he labours up the steep. And if the mists of night close round, they fill his soul with fear. He dreads some unseen precipice, some hidden danger near. So cheerfully does youth begin life's pleasant morning stage. Alas, the evening traveller feels the fears of weary age.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Oak of Our Fathers by Robert Southey, read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Alas, for the oak of our fathers that stood in its beauty, the glory and pride of the wood. It grew and it flourished for many an age, and many a tempest wreaked on it its rage. But when its strong branches were bent with the blast, it struck its root deeper and flourished more fast. Its head towered on high, and its branches spread round, for its roots had struck deep, and its heart was sound. The bees o'er its honeydewed foliage played, and the beasts of the forests fared under its shade. The oak of our fathers to freedom was dear, its leaves were a crown, and its wood was a spear. Alas for the oak of our fathers that stood in its beauty, the glory and pride of the wood. There crept up an ivy and clung round the trunk. It struck in its mouths, and the juices it drunk. The branches grew sickly, deprived of their food, and the oak was no longer the pride of the wood. The foresters saw, and they gathered around. The roots still were fast, and the art still was sound. They lopped off the boughs that so beautiful spread, but the ivy they spared on its vitals that fed. No longer the bees o'er its honeydews played, nor the beasts of the forest fed under its shade. Lopped and mangled, the trunk in its ruin is seen, a monument now what its beauty has been. The oak has received its incurable wound. They have loosened the roots, though the heart may be sound. What the travellers at distance, green flourishing, see are the leaves of the ivy that poisoned the tree. Alas, for the oak of our fathers that stood in its beauty, the glory and pride of the wood. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Battle of Pultowa by Robert Southey, read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. On Vorska's glittering waves, the morning sunbeams play. Pultowa's walls are thronged with eager multitudes. Athwart the dusty veil, they strain their aching eyes. Whereto the fight moves on, the conqueror Charles, the iron-hearted Swede. Him famine hath not tamed, the tamer of the brave. Him winter hath not quelled, when man by man his veteran troops sunk down, frozen to their endless sleep. He held undaunted on, him pain hath not subdued. What though he mounts not now the fiery steed of war? Borne on a litter to the field he goes. Go, iron-hearted king, full of thy former fame. Think how the humble Dane crouched underneath thy sword. Think how the wretched Pole resigned his conquered crown. Go, iron-hearted king. Let Narva's glory swell thy haughty breast. The death day of thy glory Charles hath dawned. Proud Swede, the sun hath risen that on thy shame shall set. Now, Patkul, may thine injured spirit rest, for over that relentless Swede ruin hath raised his unrelenting arm. For ere the night descends, his veteran host destroyed, his laurels blasted to revive no more, he flies before the Muscovite. Impatiently, that haughty heart must bear long years of hope deceived, long years of idleness that sleepless soul must brook. Now, Patkul, may thine injured spirit rest. To him who suffers in an honest cause, no death is ignominious, not on thee, but upon Charles, the cruel, the unjust, not upon thee. On him the ineffaceable reproach is fixed, the infamy abides. Now, Patkul, may thine injured spirit rest. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Traveller's Return by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by David Lawrence. Sweet to the morning traveller the song amid the sky, where twinkling in the dewy light the skylark soars on high, and cheering to the traveller the gales that round him play, when faint and heavily he drags along his noontide way. And when beneath the unclouded sun full wearily toils he, the flowing water makes to him a soothing melody. And when the evening light decays, and all is calm around, there is sweet music to his ear in the distant sheep bells' sound. But oh, of all delightful sounds of evening or of morn, the sweetest is the voice of love that welcomes his return. Westbury, 1798. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Old Man's Comforts, and How He Gained Them, by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by David Lawrence. You are old, Father William, the young man cried. The few locks which are left you are grey. You are hale, Father William, a hearty old man. Now tell me the reason, I pray. In the days of my youth, Father William replied, I remembered that youth would fly fast, and abused not my health and my vigour at first, that I never might need them at last. You are old, Father William, the young man cried, and pleasures with youth pass away, and yet you lament not the days that are gone. Now tell me the reason, I pray. In the days of my youth, Father William replied, I remembered that youth could not last. I thought of the future, whatever I did, that I never might grieve for the past. You are old, Father William, the young man cried, and life must be hastening away. You are cheerful, and love to converse upon death. Now tell me the reason, I pray. I am cheerful, young man, Father William replied. Let the cause thy attention engage. In the days of my youth I remembered my God, and he hath not forgotten my age. Westbury, 1799. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Translation of a Greek Ode on Astronomy by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Allan Mapstone. Written by S.T. Coleridge for the prize at Cambridge, 1793. 1. Hail, venerable knight, O first created, hail! Thou who art doomed in thy dark breast to veil the dying beam of light, the eldest and the latest thou, hail, venerable knight! Around thine ebon brow glittering plays with lightning rays a wreath of flowers of fire. the varying clouds with many a hue attire thy many-tinted veil. Holy are the blue graces of thy zone. But who is he whose tongue can tell the dewy lustres which thine eyes adorn? Lovely to some the blushes of the morn, to some the glories of the day, when, blazing with meridian ray, the gorgeous sun ascends his highest throne. But I with solemn and severe delight still watch thy constant car, immortal night. 2. For then to the celestial palaces Urania leads, Urania, she the goddess who alone stands by the blazing throne, effulgent with the light of deity, whom wisdom, the creatrix, by her side, placed on the heights of yonder sky, and smiling with ambrosial love, unlocked the depth of nature to her piercing eye. Angelic myriads struck their harps around, and with triumphant song, the host of stars, a beauteous throng, around the ever-living mind, in jubilee their mystic dance begun, when at thy leaping forth, O sun, the morning started in affright, astonished at thy birth, her child of light. 3. Hail, O Urania, hail, Queen of the Muses, mistress of the song, for thou didst deign to leave the heavenly throng. As earthward thou thy steps wert bending, a ray went forth and harbingered thy way. All ether laughed with thy descending. Thou hadst wreathed thy hair with roses, the flower that in the immortal bower its deathless bloom discloses. Before thine awful mien, compelled to shrink, fled ignorance abashed with all her brood. Dragons and hags of baleful breath, fierce dreams that wont to drink the sepulchre's black blood, or on the wings of storms, riding in fury forms, shriek to the mariner the shriek of death. 4. I boast, O goddess, to thy name, that I have raised the pile of fame. Therefore to me be given to roam the starry path of heaven, to charioteer with wings on high, and to rein in the tempests of the sky. 5. Chariots of happy gods, fountains of light, ye angel temples bright, may I unblamed your flamy thresholds tread. I leave earth's lowly scene, I leave the moon serene, the lovely queen of night. I leave the wide domains, beyond where Mars his fiercer light can fling, and Jupiter's vast plains, the many-belted king, even to the solitude where Saturn reigns, like some stern tyrant to just exile driven. Dim seen the sullen power appears in that cold solitude of heaven, and slow he drags along the mighty circle of long-lingering years. 6. Nor shalt thou escape my sight, who at the threshold of the sun-trod domes art trembling, youngest daughter of the night. And you, ye fiery-tressed strangers, you, comets who wander wide, will I along your pathless way pursue, whence bending I may view the worlds whom elder suns have vivified. 7. For hope with loveliest visions soothes my mind, that even in man life's winged power, when comes again the natal hour, shall on heaven wandering feet, in undecaying youth, spring to the blessed seat, where round the fields of truth the fiery essences for ever feed, and o'er the ambrosial mead the breezes of serenity, silent and soothing, glide for ever by. 8. There, priest of nature, dost thou shine, Newton, a king among the kings divine. Whether with harmony's mild force he guides along its course the axle of some beauteous star on high, or gazing in the spring, ebullient with creative energy, feels his pure breast with rapturous joy possessed, inebriates in holy ecstasy. 9. I may not call thee mortal then, my soul. Immortal longings lift thee to the skies. Love of thy native home inflames thee now with pious madness wise. Know then thyself, expand thy wings divine. Soon mingled with thy fathers thou shalt shine, a star amid the starry throng, a god the gods among. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Gooseberry Pie by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. A Pindari Code. Gooseberry pie is best. Full of the theme, O Muse, begin the song. What through the sunbeams of the west mature within the turtle's breast, blood glutinous and fat of verdant hue? What though the deer bound sportively along o'er springy turf the park's elastic vest? Give them their honours due, but gooseberry pie is best. Behind his oxen slow the patient ploughman plods, and as the sower followed by the clods, earth's genial womb receive the living seed. The rains descend, the grains they grow. Saw ye the vegetable ocean roll its green ripple to the April gale? The golden waves with the multitudinous motion swell o'er the summer vale. It flows through alder banks along beneath the copse that hides the hill. The gentle stream you cannot see, you only hear its melody. The stream that turns the mill, pass on a little way, pass on, and you shall catch its gleam anon. And hark the loud and agonizing groan that makes its anguish known, where tortured by the tyrant lord of meal, the brook is broken on the wheel. Blow fair, thou orient gale, on the white bosom of the sail, ye winds enamored lingering lie, ye waves of ocean spare the bark, ye tempests of the sky. From distant realms she comes to bring the sugar for my pie. For this on Gambia's arid side the vulture's feet are scaled with blood, and Beelzebub beholds with pride his darling planter brood. First in the spring thy leaves were seen, thou beauteous bush, so early green. Soon ceased thy blossom's little life of love. O safer than the gold fruit-bearing tree, the glory of that old Hesperian grove. No dragon does there need for thee with quintessential sting to work alarms. Prepotent guardian of thy fruitage fine, thou vegetable porcupine. And didst thou scratch thy tender arms, O Jane, that I should dine? The flour, the sugar, and the fruit, commingled well, how well they suit! And they were well bestowed, O Jane, with truth I praise your pie, and will not you in just reply praise my Pindari code? Exeter, 1799. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
ToriBee by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Agnes Robert Behr. Thou wert out betimes, thou busy, busy bee, as abroad I took my early way, before the cow from her resting place had risen up and left her trace on the meadow with dew so grey. Saw I thee, thou busy, busy bee. Thou wert working late, thou busy, busy bee, after the fall of the cistus flower, when the primrose of evening was ready to burst. I heard thee last, as I saw thee first, in the silence of the evening hour, heard I thee, thou busy, busy bee. Thou art a miser, thou busy, busy bee, late and early at employ, still on thy golden stores intent. Thy summer in heaping and hoarding is spent, what thy winter will never enjoy. Wise lesson this for me, thou busy, busy bee. Little dost thou think, thou busy, busy bee, what is the end of thy toil, when the latest flower of the ivy are gone, and all thy work for the year is done. Thy master comes for the spoil. Oh, then for thee, thou busy, busy bee. Westbury, 1799. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Spider by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by ToriBee. Spider, thou needst not run in fear about to shun my curious eyes. I won't humanely crush thy bowels out, lest thou shouldst eat the flies. Nor will I roast thee with a damned delight, thy strange instinctive fortitude to see, for there is one who might one day roast me. Thou art welcome to a rhymer sore perplexed, the subject of his verse. There's many a who on a better text perhaps might comment worse. Then shrink not, old Freemason, from my view, but quietly, like me, spin out the line. Do thy work pursue, as I will mine. Weaver of snares, thou emblemest the ways of Satan, sire of lies. Hell's huge black spider, for mankind he lays his toils, as thou for flies. When Betty's busy eye runs round the room, woe to that nice geometry of scene, but where is he whose broom this earth shall clean? Spider, of old thy flimsy webs were thought, and 'twas likeness true to emblem laws in which the weak were caught, but which the strong break through. And if a victim in thy toils is taken, like some poor client is that wretched fly, I'll warrant thee thou and drain its life's blood dry. And is not thy weak work like human schemes, and care on earth employed? Such are young hopes and love's delightful dreams, so easily destroyed. So does the statesman, whilst the avengers sleep, self-dream secure, his wiles and secret lay, soon shall destruction sweep his work away. Thou busy laborer, one resemblance more may yet this verse prolong, for Spider, thou art like the poet poor, whom thou hast helped in song. Both busily our needful food to win, we work, as nature taught, with ceaseless pains. Thy bowels thou dost spin, I spin my brains. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Destruction of Jerusalem by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Allan Mapstone. The rage of Babylon is roused, the king puts forth his strength, and Judah bends the bow, and points her arrows for the coming war. Her walls are firm, her gates are strong, her youth gird on the sword. High are her chiefs in hope, for soon will Egypt send the promised aid. But who is he whose voice of woe is heard amid the streets, whose ominous voice proclaims her strength and arms and promised succours vain? His meagre cheek is pale and sunk, wild is his hollow eye, yet awful is its glance, and who could bear the anger of his frown? Prophet of God, in vain thy lips proclaim the woe to come, in vain thy warning voice summons her rulers timely to repent. The Ethiop changes not his skin, impious and reckless still, the rulers spurn thy voice, and now the measure of their crimes is full. For now around Jerusalem the countless foes appear. Far as the eye can reach, spreads the wide horror of the circling siege. Why is the warrior's cheek so pale? Why droops the gallant youth, who late in pride of heart sharpened his javelin for the welcome war? 'Tis not for terror that his eye swells with the struggling woe. Oh, he could bear his ills, or rush to death, and in the grave have peace. His parents do not ask for food, but they are weak with want. His wife has given her babes her wretched pittance. She makes no complaint. The consummating hour is come. Alas for Solima! How is she desolate, she that was great among the nations fallen? And thou miserable king, where is thy trusted flock so beautiful, thy father's throne, the temple of thy God? Repentance brings not back the past, it will not call again thy murdered sons to life, nor vision to those eyeless sockets more. Thou wretched, childless, blind old man, heavy thy punishment, dreadful thy present woes, alas, more dreadful thy remembered guilt. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Death of Wallace by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Allan Mapstone. Joy, joy in London now. He goes, the rebel Wallace goes to death. At length the traitor meets the traitor's doom. Joy, joy in London now. He on a sledge is drawn, his strong right arm unweaponed and in chains, and garlanded around his helmless head the laurel wreath of scorn. They throng to view him now, who in the field had fled before his sword, who at the name of Wallace once grew pale, and faltered out a prayer. Yes, they can meet his eye, that only beams with patience courage now. Yes, they can look upon those manly limbs, defenceless now and bound. and that eye did not shrink as he beheld the pomp of infamy, nor one ungoverned feeling shook those limbs when the last moment came. What though suspended sense was by their legal cruelty revived? What though ingenious vengeance lengthened life to feel protracted death? What though the hangman's hand grasped in his living breast the heaving heart? In the last agony, the last sick pang, Wallace had comfort still. He called to mind his deeds, done for his country in the embattled field. He thought of that good cause for which he died, and it was joy in death. Go, Edward, triumph now. Cambria is fallen, and Scotland's strength is crushed. On Wallace, on Llewellyn's mangled limbs, the fowls of heaven have fed. Unrivalled, unopposed, go, Edward, full of glory, to thy grave. The weight of patriot blood upon thy soul. Go, Edward, to thy God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Spanish Armada by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Allan Mapstone. Clear shone the morn, the gale was fair, when from Corunna's crowded port, with many a cheerful shout and loud acclaim, the huge Armada passed. To England's shores their streamers point, to England's shores their sails are spread. They go to triumph o'er the sea-girt land, and Rome hath blessed their arms. Along the ocean's echoing verge, along the mountain range of rocks, the clustering multitudes behold their pomp, and raise the votive prayer. Commingling with the ocean's roar, ceaseless and hoarse their murmurs rise, and soon they trust to see the winged bark that bears good tidings home. The watchtower now in distance sinks, and now Galicia's mountain rocks faint as the far-off clouds of evening lie, and now they fade away. Each like some moving citadel, on through the waves they sail sublime, and now the Spaniards see the silvery cliffs, behold the sea-girt land. O fools, to think that ever foe should triumph o'er that sea-girt land! O fools, to think that ever Britain's sons should wear the stranger's yoke! For not in vain hath nature reared around her coast those silvery cliffs, for not in vain old ocean spreads his waves to guard his favourite isle. On come her gallant mariners. What now avail Rome's boasted charms? Where are the Spaniard's vaunts of eager wrath, his hopes of conquest now? And hark! The angry winds arise, old ocean heaves his angry waves, the winds and waves against the invaders fight, to guard the sea-girt land. Howling around his palace towers, the Spanish despot hears the storm. He thinks upon his navies far away, and boding doubts arise. Long over Biscay's boisterous surge the watchman's aching eyes shall strain. Long shall he gaze, but never winged bark shall bear good tidings home. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Saint Bartholomew's Day by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Allan Mapstone. The night is come, no fears disturb the dreams of innocence. They trust in kingly faith and kingly oaths. They sleep, alas, they sleep. Go to the palace, wouldst thou know how hideous night can be? Eye is not closed in those accursed walls, nor heart at quiet there. The monarch from the window leans, he listens to the night, and with a horrible and eager hope awaits the midnight bell. Oh, he has hell within him now. God, always art thou just, for innocence can never know such pangs as pierce successful guilt. He looks abroad, and all is still. Hark, now the midnight bell sounds through the silence of the night alone, and now the signal gun. Thy hand is on him, righteous God. He hears the frantic shrieks, he hears the glorying yells of massacre, and he repents too late. He hears the murderer's savage shout, he hears the groan of death. In vain they fly, soldiers defenceless now, women, old men, and babes. Righteous and just art thou, O God, for at his dying hour those shrieks and groans re-echoed in his ear. He heard that murderous yell. They thronged around his midnight couch, the phantoms of the slain. It preyed like poison on his powers of life. Righteous art thou, O God. Spirits who suffered at that hour for freedom and for faith, ye saw your country bent beneath the yoke, her faith and freedom crushed. And like a giant from his sleep, ye saw when France awoke. Ye saw the people burst their double chain, and ye had joy in heaven. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Holly Tree by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. O reader, hast thou ever stood to see the holly tree? The eye that contemplates it well perceives its glossy leaves, ordered by an intelligence so wise as might confound the atheist's sophistries. Below a circling fence its leaves are seen, wrinkled and keen. No grazing cattle through their prickly round can reach to wound, but as they grow where nothing is to fear, smooth and unarmed the pointless leaves appear. I love to view these things with curious eyes, and moralize, and in this wisdom of the holly tree can emblems see, wherewith perchance to make a pleasant rhyme, one which may profit in the after time. Thus, though abroad, perchance I might appear harsh and austere to those who on my leisure would intrude, reserved and rude. Gentle at home amid my friends, I'd be like the high leaves upon the holly tree. And should my youth, as youth is apt I know, some harshness show, all vain asperities I day by day would wear away, till the smooth temper of my age should be like the high leaves upon the holly tree. And as when all the summer trees are seen so bright and green, the holly leaves a sober hue display, less bright than they. But when the bare and wintry woods we see, what then so cheerful as the holly tree? So serious should my youth appear among the thoughtless throng, so would I seem amid the young and gay, more grave than they, that in my age as cheerful I might be as the green winter of the holly tree. Westbury, 1798. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Ebb Tide by Robert Southey, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Slowly thy flowing tide came in, old Avon. Scarcely did mine eyes, as watchfully I roamed thy green woodside, perceive its gentle rise. With many a stroke and strong the labouring boatmen upward plied their oars, yet little way they made, though labouring long between thy winding shores. Now down thy ebbing tide the unlaboured boat falls rapidly along. The solitary helmsman sits to guide, and sings an idle song. Now o'er the rocks that lay so silent late, the shallow current roars. Fast flow thy waters on their seaward way, through wider spreading shores. Avon, I gaze and know the lesson emblemed in thy varying way. It speaks of human joys that rise so slow, so rapidly decay. Kingdoms which long have stood, and slow to strength and power attained at last, thus from the summit of high fortune's flood they ebb to ruin fast. Thus like thy flow appears time's tardy course to manhood's envied stage. Alas, how hurryingly the ebbing years then hasten to old age. Westbury, 1799. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Complaints of the Poor by Robert Southey, read for LibriVox.org by Agnes Robert Behr. And wherefore do the poor complain? The rich man asked of me. Come walk abroad with me, I said, and I will answer thee. 'Twas evening, and the frozen streets were cheerless to behold, and we were wrapped and coated well, and yet we were cold. We met an old bare-headed man, his locks were thin and white. I asked him what he did abroad, in that cold winter's night. The cold was keen indeed, he said, but at home no fire had he, and therefore he had come abroad, to ask for charity. We met a young bare-footed child, and she begged aloud and bold. I asked her what she did abroad, when the wind it blew so cold. She said her father was at home, and he lay sick abed, and therefore was it she was sent abroad to beg for bread. We saw a woman sitting down upon a stone to rest. She had a baby at her back, and another at her breast. I asked her why she loitered there, when the night wind was so chill. She turned her head and bade the child, that screamed behind, be still. Then told us that her husband served a soldier far away, and therefore to her parish she was begging back her way. We met a girl, her dress was loose, and sunken was her eye, who with a wanton's hollow voice addressed the passers-by. I asked her what there was in guilt that could her heart allure to shame, disease, and late remorse. She answered she was poor. I turned me to the rich man then, for silently stood he. You asked me why the poor complain, and these have answered thee. London, 1798. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Mary by Robert Southey, read for LibriVox.org by Anthony Will. Mary, 10 checkered years have passed since we beheld each other last. Yet, Mary, I remember thee, nor canst thou have forgotten me. The bloom was then upon thy face, thy form had every youthful grace. I too had then the warmth of youth, and in our hearts was all its truth. We conversed, were there others by, with common mirth and random eye. But when escaped the sight of men, how serious was our converse then! Our talk was then of years to come, of hopes which asked a humble doom, themes which to loving thoughts might move, although we never spake of love. At our last meeting sure thy heart was even as loath as mine to part, and yet we little thought that then we parted, not to meet again. Long, Mary, after that adieu, my dearest daydreams were of you. In sleep I saw you still, and long, made you the theme of secret song. When manhood and its cares came on, the humble hopes of youth were gone, and other hopes and other fears effaced the thoughts of happier years. Meantime, through many a varied year, of thee no tidings did I hear, and thou hast never heard my name, save from the vague reports of fame. But then I trust detraction's lie hath kindled anger in thine eye, and thou my praise wert proud to see, my name should still be dear to thee. 10 years have held their course, thus late I learn the tidings of thy fate, a husband and a father now, of thee a wife and mother thou. And, Mary, as for thee I frame a prayer which hath no selfish aim. No happier lot can I wish thee than such as heaven hath granted me. London, 1802. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Friend by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Ehsan Ahmed. Inquiring if I would live over my youths again. 1. Do I regret the past? Would I again live over the morning hours of life? Nay, William, nay, not so. In the warm joyance of the summer sun, I do not wish again the changeful April day. Nay, William, nay, not so. Safe havened from the sea, I would not tempt again the uncertain ocean's wrath. Praise be to him who made me what I am, other I would not be. 2. Why is it pleasant then to sit and talk of days that are no more, when in his own dear home the traveller rests at last, and tells how often in his wanderings the thought of those far off hath made his eyes overflow with no unmanly tears. Delighted he recalls through what fair scenes his lingering feet have trod, but ever when he tells of perils past, and troubles now no more, his eyes are brightest, and a radier joy flows thankful from his heart. 3. No, William, no, I would not live again the morning hours of life. I would not be again the slave of hope and fear. I would not learn again the wisdom by experience hardly taught. 4. To me the past presents no object for regret. To me the present gives all cause for full content. The future, it is now the cheerful noon, and on the sunny smiling fields I gaze with eyes alive to joy. When the dark night descends, I willingly shall close my weary lids, in sure and certain hope to wake again. Westbury, 1798. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Dead Friend by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Ehsan Ahmed. 1. Not to the grave, my soul. Descend to contemplate the form that once was dear. The spirit is not there, which kindled that dead eye, which throbbed in that cold heart, which in that motionless hand hath met thy friendly grasp. The spirit is not there. It is but lifeless perishable flesh that moulders in the grave. Earth, air, and water's ministering particles, now to the elements, resolved, their uses done. Not to the grave, not to the grave, my soul. Follow thy friend beloved. The spirit is not there. 2. Often together we have talked of death. How sweet it were to see all doubtful things made clear. How sweet it were, with power such as the cherubim, to view the depths of heaven. O Edmund, thou hast first begun the travel of eternity. I look upon the stars, and think that thou art there, unfettered as the thought that follows thee. 3. And we have often said how sweet it were with unseen ministry of angel power to watch the friends we loved. Edmund, we did not err. Sure I have felt thy presence. Thou hast given a birth to holy thought, hast kept me from the world unstained and pure. Edmund, we did not err. Our best affections here, they are not like the toys of infancy. The soul outgrows them not. We do not cast them off. Oh, if it could be so, it were indeed a dreadful thing to die. 4. Not to the grave, not to the grave, my soul. Follow thy friend beloved, not in the lonely hour, but in the evening walk. Think that he accompanies thy solitude. Think that he holds with thee mysterious intercourse. And though remembrance wake a tear, there will be joy in grief. Westbury, 1799. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.